Looks like things are starting to wind down. A nice 4-episode roundup for September. Let's get to it. Episode 18. It's not often that we get an MLP episode centered solely on sports, and Buckball season was a pretty solid outing. I'm glad that the show decided to make up its own sport rather than parallel an existing one. It got me interested in how it worked, and it also allowed the animators to be more creative since they didn't have to emulate a real-world sport. I'm also glad that Pinky and Fluttershy actually spoke up about how they were feeling. A lot of the time when you have these kinds of scenarios where a character is uncomfortable but doesn't want to say anything, they end up keeping their thoughts to themselves until it's too late. Example? Rewind about 4 episodes. Because Fluttershy and Pinky actually spoke up, it gave AJ and Rainbow Dash a chance to actually fix their behavior and make things right before they went too far. And I'm glad that we got to see that. And Snails is an enjoyable character. Who knew? Episode 19. The CMC have been pretty meh this season. On Your Marks wasn't anything special, and the cart before the ponies was straight up bad, so I wasn't sure what to think going into this episode. But thankfully, it didn't disappoint. First off, I really like how the opening establishes how the CMC go about helping others with their cutie marks. It was an interesting and chuckle-worthy scene that set the stage for what would follow. I also thought Gabby was an interesting character. I was really unsure about her when she first showed up, but thankfully her upbeat behavior didn't cross the border into being obnoxious. If anything, she's pretty much what the CMC used to be, and with that in mind, I really enjoyed the dynamic that she had with them. It was like the CMC were helping to guide someone who was in the same position as them not too long ago. And... what the...
Mary Sue alert! Mary Sue alert!
What the hell are you talking about, Kevin?
Gabby is too perfect. She can do everything without even trying. She's a Mary Sue, and therefore she's a terrible character.
This is why I don't let you do reviews. First off, Mary Sue isn't an actual character critique. Secondly, even when you assume that it is, Gabby still doesn't fit the bill. A Mary Sue, based on its arbitrary definition, is a character that always succeeds at getting what she wants, and Gabby spends most of the episode failing. Sure, she's good at a lot of things, but she still can't get what she really wants, and even in the end, she technically still doesn't get it, at least not in the way she initially hoped. Gabby is just fine. Now go sit in the corner. Moving on. Episode 20. I generally approach map episodes with a lukewarm attitude. Up till this point, they've only been okay at the absolute best. Viva Las Pegasus, though, was actually pretty good. I was impressed by how AJ and Fluttershy handled their initial disagreement about what to do with Flim and Flam. Instead of having a falling out and not talking to each other until the end of the episode, they just try their methods separately and meet back up later to discuss what they found out. As for Flim and Flam, I'm glad the episode didn't straight up reform them. While they do show the capacity for being less malicious with their schemes, they're still con ponies at heart, and that's something that will always be a part of them, for better or for worse. It's a satisfying ending that caps off one of the better episodes of the season, and it's my personal favorite map episode to date. Episode 21. Oh boy. Starlight became quite the divisive character since Season 5's conclusion, and over the course of Season 6, that really hasn't changed. Personally, she did start to grow on me in No Second Prances, but I was still undecided on whether or not I truly liked her. With this episode, I'm still not 100% sure, but I do like the way she's written in this story. The major thing a lot of people have an issue with here is the whole mind control thing. And yeah, it's seriously messed up. But in this story, I actually like that it happened. For one thing, it's completely believable. Starlight is a mare that spent the majority of her formative years without friends. All she had was her magic. It was the one thing that she could always rely on, her default. Friendship is a concept that is completely foreign to her, so rather than take the risk on something that she wasn't good at, she defaulted to what she was good at. Starlight's been doing this for years, and I don't expect her to let go of her dependence on magic overnight. I mean, one of the reasons why folks hated her redemption was because of how quick it was, right? So why make the rest of the process quick as well? It would only make things worse. At least the show is trying to make Starlight's learning process reasonably paced. Does this excuse what Starlight did? Absolutely not. But in order to learn, you have to mess up. That's pretty much the basis of the entire show, learning from social mess-ups. I also enjoyed the parallels to Lesson 0, with Twilight now being the teacher instead of the student. When things finally get out of hand and she confronts Starlight after they clean up the mess, the conversation that follows is one of my favorite parts of the episode. I think Twilight saw some of herself in Starlight, as she pretty much did the same thing 4 seasons ago. And you could argue that her situation was worse. Both mares used a mind control spell. but the consequences of Twilight's spell spread across the entire town rather than being confined to one building. It affected a large amount of ponies instead of just 5, and she had even less control over the wanted needed spell than Starlight had over her mind control spell. Seeing that she's dealing with a similar situation, Twilight takes a step up from her former mentor and actually has Starlight make up for what she did. And we actually get to see how that plays out. My only problem is that we didn't get this sooner. I'm glad that the episode at least acknowledged Starlight's absence, but it still sucks that this episode came around so late. If it happened a little bit earlier, we'd have had more chances to develop Starlight afterwards leading up to the finale. Speaking of which, I am well aware that the finale as well as the other remaining episodes have already been aired in the UK, but I am choosing to wait until the US air dates. I will not be watching or reviewing the finale early. It will be included in the October Roundup, which will come out at the beginning of next month. With that in mind, please do not discuss the details of the finale in the comments. There are tons of message boards and forums out there for you guys to do that. And yes, this includes hinting at or alluding to what happens in the finale too.
You know people on YouTube don't listen, right?
I know, but at least I can say I tried. So what do you think about the September episodes? Swarm in that comment section below or bug me on social media. And consider supporting me through Patreon or PayPal art commissions. Until next time, keep it sketchy, folks.